Today, joining us on Sully's blog is Gary Vaynerchuk. He is known as the star of Wine Library TV. He is an entrepreneur and an author. His latest book, The Thank You Economy, is now available. And Gary, thanks for joining us today. How are you?
I'm really well, Mike. How are you?
I'm doing well, thanks. I know you're on a very tight schedule, so we can just get started. Can you tell me, what is the Thank You Economy? What does that actually mean?
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't mean saying thank you to your customers, right? This isn't manners marketing. Thank you stands for a bigger vision of what happens when you actually care about every customer. I do think in 2011, it's grossly negligent for any brand to allow somebody to say something nice about them on Facebook or Twitter and not engage with it. And so it really is, what is the ROI of giving a crap about every user on a one-to-one marketing level? And why is it important? How is it scalable? What's the culture that's needed inside of your company to execute that? And I'm pretty passionate about it. It's really how I think everything I've sold in my life, Mike, has executed. I actually came up with the term explaining to somebody why Crush It sold. Somebody said, how do you sell so many Crush It copies? And I said, well, the Thank You Economy. And they're like, huh? And I'm like, I like that name. You know, it was really talking about paying forward to your user base and your community and then getting the reciprocal response when they actually buy something that you put out.
Would you say that the internet caused this movement, or would you say that the need caused the shift in social marketing?
I think the internet matured and became social media, right? So I think the internet caused that. The internet has connected all of us, and over the last 17 years, the internet has evolved into a place where consumers' voices matter. I mean, look what you and I are doing right now. Where are you?
I'm just outside of Chicago.
I mean, you know how much you and I are paying to do this? I mean, the world's changing, right? I mean, you and I are Skyping, Mike. The thing didn't exist 6 years ago or 7 or 5 or whatever. I mean, the world is so fundamentally different. The internet matured and created a situation where people are connected. And when people are connected, small town rules matter, right? Word of mouth ecosystem. Word of mouth has always been the defiant kind of push in marketing for a business, and now it's on steroids. Ironically, I'm in San Francisco. It's Barry Bonds out.
In the book, you talk about how your success with social media wasn't really going out and posting things about your products or pushing your products. It was more going out and engaging people, finding things and helping them, giving them answers to questions they might have, or just information that might be useful to them. How do you think most companies are using social media properly today?
I think 95% of people doing social media today are hurting their business more than helping it because they're pushing, and that's not the way to use social media. Social media is a cocktail party. You don't do a PowerPoint presentation at a cocktail party. And I think 95% of people doing business today are doing that. Nobody wants you to keep tweeting them coupons and watch my commercial. People didn't join your Facebook fan page so you can spam them to buy your shit. And, I think most corporations have struggled with the one-on-one engagement. It's the difference between trying to hook up with a girl over in a one-night stand at a bar and trying to marry somebody. It's a very different race. It's running a marathon instead of a sprint. I didn't try to sell people wine. I panned wine I sold. I tried to build a relationship with people, and it worked because I was authentic and real, and that's what it's going to take for every business to go forward. And this is not Zen-y Mother Teresa stuff. This is the battleground we now live in because the customer's voice is substantially more powerful.
What are your thoughts on companies that are kind of waiting it out to see, is social media here to stay? Is this a fad? And they're not really engaging in it right now. I mean, is this a mistake? Are they hurting themselves?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's complete insanity. I think that is really, really hurting a lot of companies. You're putting your head in the sand when the world is passing you by. You've got to tip your toe in the water a little bit. It's funny, Mike, the way you delivered that question, I think you obviously agree with me. It's insanity, right? I mean, it's like, I don't know what the hell people are thinking. Yes, the answer is yes. I think, that is just a bad move.
You also mentioned how social media can be used for damage control for companies. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I call it the Hugh Grant rule, right? Hugh Grant picked up a woman of the night, went on, Jay Leno and said, I'm sorry, and people responded extremely well to that. I think we hate to say we're sorry, so when people do it, we respond well to it, Mike. So yeah, I think companies that are authentic. I mean, you think about the Domino's situation where people spit, and then the CEO came out and made a YouTube video. I think that helped. He was a little fake. It would have been nice if he was a little more real and didn't read from a script. But the next version of that will be not from a script, will be real. And people understand that there's rogue employees, that shit happens. We're much more understanding than we're given credit for, and I'd like to see more companies act real.
So for the most part, when people talk about social networking, they think person to person, business to consumer. But in the book, there's a great chapter on business to business social networking. Can you give some detail on that?
Humans make decisions, right? Who makes decisions? Humans. So B2B is human. B2C, it's just a different tact. Your customer is in the trenches. I hate everybody saying, well, my customer's not there. Your customer's there. You just don't realize it. I'm very fascinated by people who don't understand that B2B is a huge social media play. You hear that all the time, that it's not. I disagree. And I think that my distributors that sell wine could easily go to my consumers and force my consumers to come into my store and buy their stuff. I think it's a cop-out, and I'm happy that a lot of people don't see it. That leaves more for me.
Do you have any predictions about how social networking will change over the next few months, few years?
That's not a strength of mine. I don't like to predict. I just like to recognize, right? So I think things will become, some of the things I believe in is that the gamification of our society will continue to happen, right? People will continue to, check in and play games in real life. They'll eat a burger at McDonald's because it's part of a quest. Like, I believe that stuff is coming. I think it's going to get more and more human. I think marketing is going to be disrupted heavily. Television is going to collapse the way we know it. And I think the world's going to look a lot different. And so I would say that what I do know is that things are going to continue to evolve. I don't know exactly how, but I know that when I see it, I will execute against it.
Obviously, domaining is my focus, and I heard that you were a bit of a domainer yourself. Can you give me any insight there?
Here's what I love about domain names. There's a market for them. You can buy them, you can sit on them, you can sell them. It's fun real estate. I like digital real estate. I definitely, I bought up like every major winery's domain name in 1997. I was right, but I gave it back to them. I wasn't trying to be a jerk, but I think domain names are really a fun commodity. I would just warn people to not go too far because, you never know when, if Facebook.com was Facebook.io, stuff would be different today. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's not just a name, it's the marketing you put behind it. And so I respect people that, sit on names and are clever. I still buy names once in a while. I bought Daily Grape, and that's what I rebranded Wine Library TV to. Check out the app. When I saw the whole daily candy phenomenon and the word daily meaning something. So I respect it. I just think that you got to build the name as well. If that's what you're into. I mean, there's some people who just want a portfolio. I respect that.
Do you think it's important for everyone to engage in social networking, even on just like a personal level, to kind of promote your own personal brand?
Well, no. I mean, everybody should be real to themselves. If you're a loudmouth, extrovert like me, you should promote yourself, especially if you have chops. If you're not, then you're an introvert and quiet. God bless. You don't need to. I think it's important that everybody understands that human engagement has more value than ever. Like, if you're sitting on a huge portfolio of domain names, you should create a blog or a universe where people come and talk in a cocktail party and you be the hostess and the hostess with the mostest. There's a lot more you can do than just having names,
Any final thoughts or ideas for us?
One of the sites I really, really, really wanted to launch a couple years ago was a domain name site. But what I was going to do was have a page where I would explain why the domain name was good. And I'd almost even mock up a logo. I would say to everybody who's listening right now, you have to differentiate yourself, right? There's a lot of people with portfolios. What if you got a place where the domain name lived there, you gave a 5-minute summary of what you thought could really be cool with that domain name, maybe even had a logo. You could probably sell a domain name that's worth $500 for $1,500 because of it. I would tell people that, think about that. Think about what extra mile you can go. What if you went to search.twitter.com right now and talk to people and help them understand domain names instead of trying to sell to them? When you become a service and not just a retailer, that's when shit gets crazy. That's why Zappos sold for $1 billion. They were a service more so than they were a shoe retailer. Keep that in mind.
Thanks, Gary. This has been great. I really appreciate it. Take care.
Stay well, man. Thank you so much, Mike. Take care.